Hi everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Welcome back, and for those who are new, thanks so much for checking out my channel. I hope that everyone is well. It has been a week, and yesterday I was feeling pretty exhausted, so that is why this video is technically a day late, but I wanted to make sure that I was, well, awake for the video. So today I am doing much better, and I have 10 books to share with you that I have received or picked up in May, and I am pretty excited about this book haul. There has been a lot of buzz about several of these books. Most of the books were sent to me, so I'm going to talk about those first. And the very first book is a Canadian book, and it's also a children's picture book. It was sent to me by ZG Stories and High Water Press, and it is called We Dream Medicine Dreams by Danae author and illustrator Lisa Boivin. And I am going to say more about this book next Friday when I do my May wrap up. But for now, I will say that this story is about a relationship between a young girl and her grandfather and how they stay connected. And it's quite beautiful. Their relationship is beautiful. The indigenous traditions are beautiful, and the illustrations are incredibly beautiful as well. My apologies if you hear a noise in the background. My mom is doing the dishes. Next up is another Canadian book by an indigenous author, and I received this from ZG Stories and University of Regina Press, and this is Gather on the Joy of Storytelling by Richard Van Camp. It was published a couple weeks ago, I think mid-May. And I've been waiting in anticipation for this book because I've been wanting to read several of Richard Van Camp books. And if you watch this channel, you already know that I like to read a lot of Indigenous authors who live in Canada. And in this particular book, Van Camp talks about storytelling as medicine, what makes a good story, and how storytelling creates community and wards off loneliness and isolation, which I think is an important topic in our times. I love that it includes stories from elders who have influenced Van Camp. I think that those stories are a real treasure, and I'm so grateful that he is willing to share them in this way with us. So the next book is a memoir, which I received from St. Martin's Press. Buses Are Comin by Charles Person with Richard Rooker, I think it is. Yes. And I think I've talked about this one before in a books to read video. It's one that has been on my radar for quite some time, and I'm so pleased to have received a copy. So Buses Are Comin was published at the end of April, and it is the story of Charles Person, who was 18 and the youngest of the original Freedom Riders, who was on one of the buses that left Washington, D.C., headed for New Orleans in 1961. And the bus that Charles was on was mobbed, and the riders were nearly beaten to death. So this is a topic that I know a little about, but I really want to read more about it. So the next book I won in a giveaway on Instagram from Nick's Book Nook. And this book came from Hachette Books and Grand Central Publishing, and I will leave a link to Nick's Book Nook Instagram in the description box. This is We Are Watching Eliza Bright by A.E. Osworth, and this book is getting some buzz on Bookstagram, and it sounded intriguing enough for me to enter a giveaway, but it wasn't a book that I would rush out to purchase. So I'm really looking forward to reading it and seeing if I like it. The story is about Eliza Bright, who is a video game coder. And the blurb on the inside jacket cover says this: Eliza Bright is living the dream as an elite video game coder at Fancy Dog Games. The first woman to ascend that high in the ranks, and some people want to make sure she's the last. To her friends, Eliza Bright is a brilliant, self-taught coder, bravely calling out the misogyny that pervades her industry. To the men who see her very presence as a threat, Eliza Bright is a woman who needs to be destroyed to protect the game they love. When Eliza's report of workplace harassment is quickly dismissed, she takes her frustrations to a journalist who blasts her story across the internet. She's fired and doxxed and becomes a rallying figure for women everywhere. But she's also enraged, the beast comprised of online male gamers. Their unreliable chorus narrates our story. Soon, Eliza is in the crosshairs of the gaming community, threatened and stalked as they monitor her every move online and across New York City. As the violent power of the angry male collective descends upon everyone in Eliza's life, it becomes increasingly difficult to know who to trust, even when she's eventually taken in and protected by an under-the-radar collective known as the Sixterhood. The violence moves from cyberspace to the real world, thanks to a vicious male superfan known only as the Inspector, determined to exact his revenge on behalf of men everywhere. This thrilling cat-and-mouse story explores the dark recesses of the internet and male rage, and the fragile line between the online world and real life. So I've never read a book quite like this before, and I think it will be interesting to see what it's all about. Up next is a romance called When We Blinked, and this was sent for me from the author Stephanie Mack. And this story is about Serafina, who has split up from her husband, and she decides to try a dating app that doesn't include pictures, but it allows people to have meaningful conversations. So Serafina has 3 men that she thinks she has been communicating with that she's going to choose from. So there's Graham, Jack, and her ex Connor. But what Serafina doesn't know is that Connor is posing as Jack and wants her to get to know him all over again. And this has been compared to You've Got Mail, so I think that this will be a fun read. And then up next is a book from the Republic of Conscious, and The Mermaid of Black Conch by Monique Roffey was shortlisted for the Costa Book Awards in 2020 and shortlisted for the Republic of Conscious Prize for Small Presses this year. And I first became aware of it from Eric Anderson's channel, and he made it sound really intriguing. It is a story about a mermaid, Acaia, I think her name is, who hears a fisherman singing and on a Caribbean island, and she's attracted to him. And you know, I can't remember the last time I've read a book about a mermaid, so I'm looking forward to this as well. The next book is a debut novel called Music of Bees by Eileen Garwin, and I received this in my Sweet Reads subscription box. And the story takes place in Oregon and Oregon, I guess, and has been compared to Eleanor Oliphant's Completely Fine, which I absolutely loved. And the inside flap says the following: 44-year-old Alice Holtzman is stuck in a dead-end job, bereft of family, and now reeling from the unexpected death of her husband. Alice has begun having panic attacks whenever she thinks about how her life hasn't turned out the way she dreamed. Even the beloved honeybees she raises in her spare time aren't helping her feel better these days. In the grip of a panic attack, she nearly collides with Jake, a troubled paraplegic teenager with the tallest mohawk in Hood River County, while carrying 120,000 honeybees in the back of her pickup truck. Charmed by Jake's sincere interest in her bees and seeking to rescue him from his toxic home life, Alice surprises herself by inviting Jake to her farm. Sorry guys, my mom is giving the dogs some treats, so you might be hearing some stuff in the background. And then there's Harry, a 24-year-old with debilitating social anxiety who is desperate for work. When he answers Alice's ad for part-time farm help, he's shocked to find himself hired. As an unexpected friendship blossoms among Alice, Jake, and Harry, a nefarious pesticide company moves in town, threatening the local honeybee population and illuminating deep-seated corruption in the community. The unlikely trio must unite for the sake of the bees, and in the process, they might just forge a new future for themselves. Beautifully moving, warm, and uplifting, The Music of Bees is about the power of friendship, compassion in the face of loss, and finding the courage to start over at any age when life hasn't turned out the way you expected. So the next book I picked up, because I've been watching Steve Donahue's channel, so you may have seen my video called Has Steve Read It?, in which I put 8 books forward to see if Steve has read them. And he did a response video, which I will link below. So on his channel and on his blog, he has the best and worst books of several years, going back quite a ways. And as I was going through his best fiction books, I noticed this book, and I've heard really good things about this author and thought that I would like to try it out. So the description on this is The Samurai's Garden by Gail Tsukiyama, and it's about a 20-year-old Chinese painter named Stephen, and he's sent to his family's summer home in a Japanese village to recover from a bout with tuberculosis. So on the eve of the Second World War, Stephen, under the care of the housekeeper and master gardener, Matsu, he will rest, swim in the sea, and paint in the brilliant shoreside light. It will be quiet and solitary. As he begins to recover, young Stephen has his own adventure, but it is the unfolding story of Matsu, Sachi, and Kenzo that will seize your imagination and stay with you long after you have finished this beautifully crafted and moving masterpiece. So I have pretty high expectations of this one, and so we'll see how it goes. So another book that I purchased because I've seen it all over Instagram is a thriller. It's called The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. And this was published at the beginning of the month, and it has been getting some very high ratings from reviewers. So Owen Michaels disappears and manages to smuggle a note to his wife, Hannah. And the note just says, "Protect her." And Hannah knows that the note is referring to Bailey, who is Owen's 16-year-old daughter. So Hannah and Bailey realize that Owen isn't who he said he was, and they work together to find out his true identity and why he really disappeared. So people have been saying this is a page turner, so I hope that it is. The final book is another mystery thriller novel that has been getting rave reviews, and that is We Begin at the End by Whittaker. So I'm trying to go into this as blind as possible because I have this feeling I'm really going to like it, just from comments on Instagram that have been, saying things that make me want to read it. Like it has a John Steinbeck or William Kent Kruger vibe. It has powerful writing. People are saying that they can't put it down, that it has suspense, and that there's, many layers to the story. So I like all of those things. And on the inside page, it says this: Walk has never left the coastal California town where he grew up. He may have become the chief of police, but he's still trying to heal the old wound of having given the testimony that sent his best friend, Vincent King, to prison decades before. Now, 30 years later, Vincent is being released. Duchess is a 13-year-old self-proclaimed outlaw. Her mother, Star, grew up with Walk and Vincent. Walk is in overdrive trying to protect them, but Vincent and Star seem bent on sliding deeper into self-destruction. Star always burned bright, but recently that light has dimmed, leaving Duchess to parent not only her mother, but her 5-year-old brother. At school, the other kids make fun of Duchess. Her clothes are torn, her hair a mess, but let them throw their sticks because she'll throw stones. Rules are for other people. She's just trying to survive and keep her family together. A 40-something-year-old sheriff and a 13-year-old girl may not seem to have a lot in common, but both have come to expect that people will disappoint you. Loved ones will leave you, and if you open your heart, it will be broken. So when trouble arrives with Vincent King, Walk and Duchess find they will be unable to do anything but usher it in, arms wide closed. Whittaker has written an extraordinary novel about people who deserve so much more than life deserves. So much more than life serves them. At times devastating, with flashes of humor and hope throughout, it is ultimately an inspiring tale of how the human spirit prevails, and how, in the end, love, in all its different guises, wins. So these are some of the books that I am hoping to read in the next few months. As always, I will leave a list of all of the books that I talked about and mentioned in the description box below, as well as the channels that I mentioned and the videos and the Instagram account. So please let me know in the comments if you have read any of these, or if there are any that interest you, if you're thinking about reading some of these, or have you received or purchased any books yourself that you are hoping to read soon. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoy your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.